Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 540. Today we're going to take a look at Agamemnon. Now this is a two-player only abstract game from Osprey Games, and it is very, very abstract. So the theme is supposedly Trojans versus Greece. But the way the mechanics work out is very much not thematic at all, but don't hold that against it. So let's take a look at how it actually works, and then I'll tell you what I think of it. Okay, here is everything that you get in the game of Agamemnon. The first thing to note is players will get each a set of player pieces, and these are going to be face down unless you're playing a variant, and these will be flipped up during your turn and they will be played out. You've got different warriors and leaders and things, which I'll talk about. And then you have here actually a double-sided board. Here's kind of like your basic side. Now if we take a look at the board, you can see these different pieces that are on each of these different kind of routes, and they have a matching little symbol there, and these are going to be different pieces that are going to be sort of trying to be captured and scored in different ways. And so the board tells you how to set these up. Now on the other side of the board, which I'll show you in a little bit, it just adds a little bit more variety to kind of the setup. Now each player also has a little kind of just a reference sheet, and this kind of shows you what you have, because during the normal game these are all going to be face down. You're going to be slowly revealing them and playing them out into these little circle spaces here on the board, and this kind of helps you and your opponent remember what you have left to play. And so what's going to happen is the first player on the first turn is going to flip over one of these, and then they're going to place it. So they have this warrior here, and you see it's got two little spears, so this has a strength of 2, and we might put that out here somewhere on the board. Now where you want to play this is where the spear little string tiles, and these little skinny tiles are called strings. So any of the strings that have these little spears on them, that's where you want to place them. So if we place this, let's say here. Now the reason I'm doing that, let's just learn how we're going to score right now, is once this we've resolved and we've placed all of our tokens on the board, there's going to be 2 empty spaces. And then you're going to look at contiguous lines of the same type of string. So look at this one here. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, as long as there were pieces in here connecting all of these, let's just put some random ones out and hope I don't break my scoring thing. Yeah, that one there is fine. And then we'll do a black one here. Perfect. So when we go to score this, we're going to look in this case, in the case of these strings here with the spears, who has the most strength. And in this case we've got 3 from the black player. We actually have 5 from the yellow player, because these leaders, in addition to having a letter, which I'll explain in a minute, they also have a number of spears. So the yellow player is now going to be able to collect that long string. If there was another one in here, let's say it was broken like that, or let's just say, because you can't actually move these around during the game, I'll explain that in a minute. Let's say it was like this, then this little string here would be one string, and this is broken by a different type, and then we'd have another string over here. So yellow would collect these 2, and then black would collect these 2. So you're trying to find where the long sections are and apply the appropriate piece. Now the leadership strings, and those are these, are scored in a different way. Now you can see each of the leaders, if we take a look at this, has A, B, C, D, and E. And they also have the number of strength for the strength strings like I showed you. But if you have the highest leader, let's find a leader, well he's C here. So if he was here, and then we'll find a leader here like so. So yellow has C and black has D, and it doesn't matter what the other strengths are, whatever, that are intersecting with these particular strings, because these are the leadership strings here. It's just whoever has the highest leader within that contiguous route is going to grab it. So again, yellow in this case has C, which is higher than D, so they're going to grab all 3 of those. And I should have said each of these is worth a point at the end of the game. So in this case, yellow is doing really well from the examples that I've shown you. Now the last type of string are the force strings, and these are the little dots. And these are just the pure number of tiles in that length. So let's give black a little break here, and so we're going to have this. So we have this one here, so you got 1, 2, 3, and so black has 3 in that sort of route, and actually it keeps going up here, but it'll actually be broken here. I didn't explain that yet, but if there's no token there, then that breaks it, because after everybody's played there's going to be 2 empty spots, and so that's considered that like a dead end for all the strings entering that spot. So here black will get 1, 2, 3, 4. If there was another one here, let's say yellow had that there, we've got 1, 2, 3 blacks that are in this length of 4 strings against 2 whites or 2 oranges, so black would still get that, because in the case of these force ones, you're actually again just counting the total number of the tokens. That's it. Now you might have noticed there are some special tokens here. There's actually 2 types of special tokens. We've got this little sort of omega symbol here and this triangle here. Now when you play the omega symbol, it's not actually an omega symbol, but it's a weft. So for purposes of determining where strings begin and end, these wefts are actually going to create a break. So this example where I showed you before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are actually broken up. And so black would contribute to this one and this one, but these are not connected together because it acts as sort of a break in terms of, you know, is this a contiguous line? So these 2 would break this up. Now the triangle one, when you place that, that allows you to actually swap 2 strings that are on that connection there. So I could actually swap this and this would act as another way to break that up. So when you place the triangle, you do the warp, that's what it's called a warp, and then the weft here will break it up. So you have those there, but those still count for the total number. So that's the game. You're just going to take turns flipping up tiles. Now again, the first player flips up 1, and then after that you're going to start flipping up 2 apiece, and then going back and forth, and each player is going to flip up 2 and place them. And you just play until all the pieces are on the board, and then you figure out what the scoring is going to be. Now there are a couple of variants. The one is you can just play with everybody playing these face up. One of these you could keep them in groups. So you could have the warriors, the special tiles, and the leaders all in different groups, but have them face down, but then you can kind of choose. You won't know exactly which one you're getting, but you know which type you're getting. And then the other variant here is the other side of the board, which I'm going to show you now. Whoops. And so you'll notice here there are different groupings within each of these. And so what's going to happen is you're going to flip over 3 of these, and that's going to help you determine which kind of spaces are actually available and which are actually being used within the context of the game. So that's going to add a little bit of variety to the setup and how these strings come out onto the board. So that is Agamemnon. One thing I wanted to mention, which I didn't, was the box. I don't know how well you can see. You can kind of see it has that sort of leathery look to it. So it kind of has like that kind of leather book feel. And they always do a nice job with the inserts, and so it opens like a book, and you've got a nice little insert there. So I always like that about the Osprey games. So it makes it feel like really kind of classy or kind of old and weathered in a certain way. And this game actually does kind of feel like that. If you look at the subtitle there, you know, I mentioned 3M in there, because this does feel like a game back from the 50s and the 60s, you know, from 3M. And I don't mean that as a knock, because there's a lot of excellent games that came out back then, but it has a sort of a Saxony, Sid Saxon kind of feel to it. Very clean, very abstract, but there's a little bit of amount of luck into it, and it's sort of a little bit of push your luck, because as you are flipping tiles, and that's the way I prefer to play it. Now, I haven't actually tried it with everything all available, but I like it so much with the, you know, kind of flipping 2 tiles every turn and figure out where to play them, because it really reminds me of another great designer's game, Reiner Knizia. It reminds me a lot of Samurai, where you have that little stack of 5 tiles, and then you're going to play those out. But everybody knows what everybody has. There's a certain confined amount of tiles. So you know if they've used their A leader, it's gone, it's been used. So now you can play around that. And if you play that early, if you draw that leader early, you know, you might think, oh, I'm going to lock this down, but now your opponent knows it's out there, and they can start to manipulate the strings and move the strings and cause breaks in the lines and all that kind of stuff. So you've got to be very, very diligent and careful about where you play those as you draw them. And that's such a great thing, because you draw 2, and you really only have 2 kind of decision points to make, but it does add a little bit of analysis, and it doesn't get to the point where it's analysis paralysis. The game's going to take maybe 30 minutes tops. Once you get the hang of it and how everything's scored, it's going to be very, very quick to play. But it's perfect because it's a small decision space, but you have a good, you know, sort of amount to chew on. So and there's a little bit sort of that same kind of thing as Samurai, where you go out and you kind of bluff. You're like, okay, I'm going to try to control this area over here, knowing that you're probably going to try to change it and stuff. So you don't commit too much. You don't go all in, you know, after that one area. And so the other thing I haven't played with is the Loom, because frankly, the 3 games that I've played with the basic side is enough. Because again, the variability of when you draw certain tiles makes it, I think you don't even really need the second side of the board, although I think it'll be interesting maybe once I've played this, a few more times or 10 times or something. But just that main side of the board does enough for me to be able to get into the game. And so it's a great overall production. I don't typically go for abstracts. It's not something I don't like. It's just I don't typically gravitate towards that. But I think this reminds me enough of Samurai, but it's different enough that I'm definitely going to keep it in the collection, because it's really, really an enjoyable game. And it's just, I don't know, he kind of scratches that itch. So maybe if you don't like abstracts, like me, I'm not a huge fan of abstracts. Like the theme is not, whatever, the theme's not there, other than kind of the general sort of, I take that back, because I was thinking about this earlier. So the theme is there, not in terms of like grounding you in a reality, and all that kind of stuff. There's not even an atmosphere of a theme, but it feels thematic in that it feels like it could have been a game that was invented, not just like in the 1950s, but like in the, 1950 BC, where it's super abstract. You've got these 3 sort of archetypes, in the special tiles are called the weavers. So you have sort of your craftsman and your sort of everyday civilian. You've got your warriors, and you have your leaders. And so those are the kind of, that kind of strange archetype. It feels very Greek or Babylonian or even Roman. And so you're just moving these pieces around in an abstract way. So it feels like, oh yeah, I could see like a couple old folks from way back when, sitting around a concrete table or something, not concrete, a stone table, back whenever, moving these pieces around. This could be kind of a pastime that people played back then. So it feels very much natural to that. And I think the production kind of lends itself to that, where it's sort of a very clean and elegant and sort of, I don't know what the word is, sophisticated. I hate that word anyway, but that kind of vibe to it. So it makes it very enjoyable to play, and it doesn't take very long, and the decision space is not, ginormous like chess or something. So I think it's an excellent game. I highly recommend it, for couples or whoever, if you're going to play a nice 2-player quick abstract, very pleasant, nice experience. So highly recommend Agamemnon. Thanks.